Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's National Tooth Fairy Day, Tony. When you were a kid, what kind of coin did the Tooth Fairy leave under your pillow?
Tony Kornheiser, coin? In those days, we used shells. We didn't have any coins.
Yeah, I was not a Tooth Fairy guy. That didn't resonate with me. Tooth fairies.
So did you not get any money when you were a kid? Like
no.
A quarter or a half dollar?
No, I don't remember that happening. Maybe it's just
okay.
been too
Is
long
it possible?
Too old.
Is it possible your brother Don stole the money?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Went in the pillow.
He's a
stole
banker.
the money.
Look what his life turned out. He's a banker. He probably took the money and deposited it somewhere.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Shedeur Sanders is confident, Anthony Edwards is suspended, and Dan Graziano fills us in on the ramifications of Matthew Stafford staying with the Rams. But we begin today with LeBron James. Steph Curry made noise last night with 56 points in a win. LeBron also won, scoring 33 and grabbing 17 rebounds. But it was LeBron's post-game comments that made the biggest headline. The talk turned to being the face of the NBA. Now, earlier in the week, former player Channing Frye was pointedly dismissive of being the face of the league, saying there was far too much criticism of current star players and far too much idolatry of former stars, particularly Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. LeBron sided with Frye, a former teammate, saying, quote, Channing Frye said it the other day. It's unfortunate, but why do you want to be the face of the league when all the people that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis bleep on everybody, unquote. Wilbon, do you agree with LeBron?
Mostly no, but there's a lot of layers here, and there's some stuff I might agree with him. And I watched Channing Frye have this rant, and it was insightful. And I disagree with Channing, who I know and like tremendously. And if I was sitting with Channing and or LeBron, I would say, hold on for a second. First of all, we live in a world now in which those guys, and particularly LeBron, they know how to use and manipulate social media, but it goes both ways. It cuts both ways. And that's where a great part of the negativity is. All right? So you engage in this. We live in a world that is largely negative, having nothing to do with sports. That's the world we live in and you live in it. And in LeBron's case, though, when you've been praised justifiably, you've earned the praise and the hundreds of millions of dollars that have started since you were 8 years old. When you put a crown on your head, do you actually believe that the rest of us are just in your kingdom to serve you? Sorry, there's criticism that comes with that. There's comparison that comes with that. I don't know that LeBron feels this way because I haven't asked him. I'd like to ask him. Is he referring to the constant comparisons of Michael Jordan? Because if he doesn't like that, too damn bad. The comparison, the constant attention, that's how you get all that money. It doesn't come from fannies and seats. Yeah. It comes from attention and eyeballs and viewership and listenership and all of that, Tony. And I just wonder, really, do you think that we're supposed to just be there in public relations terms? We're not on your payroll. We're not there just to praise you, even though that's what I think celebrities of every generation think at the height of their powers. By the way, real quickly, Draymond Green criticized the game and was, quote unquote, negative about the style of the game. Where's that coming from? A player, a colleague, a friend of his. So there's so many layers to this, Tony. I could go on forever. Let me shut up.
I'm not going to talk much because I'd rather hear from you because you are, you think Michael Jordan is by far the greatest player ever lived. And I want to get to that from you. But I would just say that this came as news to me. I really wasn't aware. I watch this network a lot, and other than one or two people that you and I both like a lot who are great reporters, I don't hear a lot of criticism of the league at all. And I would say that if Channing Frye is right, that all there is negativity out there, then I guess I wonder, why are there so many shows devoted to the NBA, and why are there networks willing to pay billions of dollars to put the NBA on? I mean, to me, you wouldn't do that unless somebody liked the product in its current form. I'll just take 25 seconds here to say another part of this criticism. Do people like you and I like players from yesteryear? Sure we do.
Yeah.
And we like Wilt, and we like Russell, and we like Julius Erving and Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and people like that. But don't we also like players of now?
Yes.
I think that Steph Curry and LeBron James are historically important and great players.
They are.
I think that Giannis and Jokic are getting to that point, and maybe down the road, Wembanyama and Gilgeous-Alexander are going to be like that. And my advice, I think, is sort of similar to yours. If Channing Frye's point is, that they get all this criticism, do you just want to be praised and never criticized? Then you know what? Don't turn on television and
get
don't
off social
read the
media.
internet.
Get off social media, Tony. And that is a big part of this.
When you are the face of the league, the result is $1 billion worth of contracts.
And Ant-Man, by the way, is trying to be the face of the league because he's got every commercial in the world. And he should do it. And he should get the money because he's earning it. And last thing about LeBron. LeBron, nobody's been praised as much as LeBron. Justifiably the last 20 years, he's earned it. He's earned every shred of it. And nobody's better, by the way, in media post-game than LeBron. Maybe ever. LeBron's been doing this for 45 years. LeBron may be the best ever at it. So I'd like to talk to him some more and hear some specifics and things that he might be unhappy with.
But you're a Jordan guy. You're a Jordan guy.
Yes, Michael Jordan's the greatest player ever. And if LeBron can't stand it that everybody doesn't have that opinion, too damn bad. Sorry, we're not obliged. We're not. And that conversation about Jordan and LeBron, I was at Prime 112 in Miami the other night. Who's the rapper? Slim Thug, I think is his name. I didn't even know him. He stopped me, and you know what he said? Hey, Mike, we got to talk about something, LeBron or Jordan. I go, really? Really? It's 1 o'clock in the morning on a Friday night on Miami Beach. We got to have this conversation. And you know what? We did. Well, you know what else? It's good for the league. It's good for the league.
Why are you out at that hour?
Huh?
It's too late.
I'm not sleeping 5 hours
hour.
like you. Shedeur Sanders has a message for NFL teams considering drafting him. The Colorado quarterback told reporters at the Combine, quote, "If you ain't trying to change the franchise or culture, don't get me. I've done it over and over and over. Nothing can faze me. No pressure, no situation. These cameras, nothing phases me. I grew up with it." Close quote. Tone, how does Shedeur's comment sound to you? Don't get me. I've done it over and over and over. Nothing can faze me. No pressure, no situation. These cameras, nothing phases me. I grew up with it. Close quote. Tone, how does Shedeur's comment sound to you? I'll steal a thought from Uber producer Matt Kelleher, who said to me this morning when we were first talking about this topic, you have that kind of confidence as soon as you get drafted and walk in the league until Chris Jones knocks you out on the fourth play of your rookie season and the ball is 8 yards somewhere being scooped and scored by the other team. You have that confidence until that happens. And it's fine because you should. To play that position, you better have it. You have to have it. I don't even want to draft you if you don't. But it doesn't mean that the great quarterbacks, most of them have had a comeuppance early on in their careers. It didn't go as smoothly as Shedeur Sanders seems to think, but it's okay. And that's one reason why I'll give a whole show to what LeBron James says, particularly in his 20th year, would have done it in his third year. But a quarterback just coming out of college doesn't faze me as much what he has to say yet. Shedeur in 3 to 5 years, maybe so. Not yet, not now.
Yeah. There's the bell. I would have said more. We'll move. Let's move to golf, because this story's cool. Today on the DP World Tour playing in Durban, South Africa, English golfer Dale Whitnell had 2 holes in 1. That's not all. He also had an eagle on a par 5, so that's 6 under in 3 holes. Whitnell finished his round at 63, 9 under. The odds of making 2 holes in 1 in the same round are estimated at, 67 million to 1. Wilbon, what is the word for what Whitnell did?
I can't even understand it. It's incomprehensible. How many aces do you have? How many?
0.
You got 0. I got 1.
I have 0.
I got 1. Between the two of us, we got 1. And I couldn't even see mine because it was hitting a blinding sunshine in Arizona. I couldn't even see it go in the hole. Maybe a chipmunk picked the ball up and dropped it in for all I know. I don't even know.
Javelina did.
But Javelina, that would be a better story. But Tony, it doesn't even, as much golf as we both play and have played and will play, does this not seem incredulous to you? Like, I need video because it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, okay. So my word is Vandermeer, because nobody is going to beat this thing.
No.
You know, I don't even find myself believing it, much like you don't believe it.
Yeah, I don't.
Maybe someone will tie it. There have been 3 guys on the PGA Tour over time who had 2 holes in one on the same course. But to me, it's like Johnny Vandermeer. That's the situation. One of those guys is Brian Harmon, who, as you know, won the U.S. Junior at our place at Columbia Country Club. You know, but I mean, it's amazing. There was a guy, just let me get this in, Frank Bensel Jr. Last year, he's a club pro. Last year at the Senior Open, he had holes in one back-to-back at Newport Country Club in Rhode Island. But did he have an eagle? I want to know if he had an eagle
5 under
to throw
in
in
3
there.
holes? Are you kidding?
I heard he had 74, you know, and didn't make the cut. Let's take a break. Coming up, what does the Rams deal with Matthew Stafford mean for the teams who wanted him? We're going to ask Dan Graziano.
We're also going to ask him how teams feel about the prospect of Travis Hunter playing both ways in the NFL.
Yeah. You know, what we both think is that it's defense first.
Welcome back.
Wilbon's favorite event is taking place in Indianapolis this week, the NFL Combine. That's where we find ESPN NFL insider Dan Graziano. Let's start with this. The Rams and Matthew Stafford have agreed to a restructured deal. What does this mean for the teams that were interested in Stafford? And can I add, parenthetically, what it might mean for Aaron Rodgers, who was sort of rumored to be ready to go there if that job was vacant?
Yeah, I think they had been in contact to see if it's touchy with Rodgers because the Jets haven't even actually released him yet. But obviously, I think he's kind of been poking around. I think he's on the list that the Giants will look into now. I'm not sure that's necessarily where they go, but I think they've explored that possibility along with some others. So I'd watch him there. And the Raiders, I think, kind of will pivot to probably Sam Darnold or Russell Wilson. I think the Russell Wilson-Pete Carroll relationship has been repaired somewhat from what I understand. So I think that's a possibility. Rodgers, I'm trying to think, without the Rams, that was such a sweet option for him, right? The Rams, I think Tennessee is kind of out there as a team that if they don't draft one, might go that route. But I think the Giants are going to at least look into it. And whether he wants to go there is another question, right? Like he might decide he doesn't want to play anymore. We haven't heard that officially yet.
Whew. Aaron Rodgers poking around like this, not exactly becoming. Let's go to Cleveland, Dan, where Cleveland.com reported yesterday that Myles Garrett is not interested in an extension with the Browns, but the Browns are pretty adamant, saying they're not dealing him. So we got a game of chicken going on here. What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to take a while and possibly get ugly. I was talking to a couple executives with teams that, would have an interest in Myles Garrett if he were available. And they're telling me Cleveland is still a hard no. They are not dealing him. They're not talking about what it would take to get him. None of that. So cap-wise, trading him before June 1st, his cap number would go up from $19 million to $36 million if they traded him. So that if they do something, they probably have to wait till after June 1st, which is tough because now you're getting 2026 draft picks instead of 2025, and you don't know how good those picks are going to be. You just traded the team Myles Garrett. They're probably going to be better as a result. So I think Cleveland's going to have to get to a point where they are convinced Myles Garrett is not going to play for them. And I don't know how he can convince them of that until training camp or maybe the regular season arrives and he doesn't show up to work. So I think this could drag out, and I think it could get pretty ugly.
My favorite player going into this whole offseason and through this offseason will not be a quarterback, Dan. It will not be a pass rusher. It's Travis Hunter, the two-way phenom who says he wants to play both ways in the NFL. I know you're talking to a lot of teams. Do you run across anybody that's actually interested in him doing that or trying that?
To a point. And I think most teams that I've talked to see him as a guy they would use as a defensive back, like as a starting defensive back, and then find packages to use him on offense. And the reason is not because of his abilities as a wide receiver. The reason is a lot of these teams kind of figured you're not going to be able to play 130 snaps a game, in the NFL and hold up. Remarkable that he did it in college, but I think, you're looking at a long-term investment here. You want to protect that a little bit. So I think teams would be hesitant to use him as a full-time wide receiver But I also don't think if you draft him that you'd be foolish enough to just ignore that part of his game. So I think he'll get to play two ways in the NFL, but it's not going to be like he's not going to be like one of your starting outside wide receivers if he's your starting cornerback.
Wilbon, that's exactly what you and I were saying yesterday.
Yes.
I'm glad Dan agrees with that.
Packages.
Let's get you out of here on this. Penn State pass rusher Abdul Carter is potentially the top pick. He says he's at about 90% with a stress reaction in his right foot. Doctors have cleared him for a pro day. Do you see this as affecting his draft standing?
I don't think it will for a couple reasons. One, it doesn't sound like the injury is something that's going to, follow him his whole career. I'm sure teams will dig into that more, and obviously if greater concerns come up, then maybe. But when you look at this draft, not every draft is the same in terms of overall quality, right? So there are two players, I think, in the first round that people look at and say, they could be difference makers. They could be, franchise changer level guys, and it's Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. So if you are going to pivot off of Abdul Carter because of the foot, where are you going, right? If Travis Hunter is off the board, you're going to move to somebody who's not remotely the same level of prospect. So I think as long as you make your peace with the health, I think you take Carter thinking, or picking whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to get a generational franchise-changing guy once he's healthy. So I don't think it knocks him down the board.
Dan, what a pleasure to have a Georgetown guy on this show talking about football,
Right.
Which Georgetown doesn't really
Too many
have.
Syracuse guys
Thank
on
you.
this show. Yeah. All right.
Dan,
Thanks
you,
for having me, guys.
Appreciate it.
Let's take one last break. Still to come. Could we see Bill Belichick in North Carolina on Hard Knocks? Really?
One can hope not.
Really?
The Sixers, apparently they've decided what to do with Joel Embiid, Tony. I know you're hanging on every word of that.
Yeah. Just tell me, is he going to play more than 20 games the rest of this year? Probably not, right?
The Interruption is brought to you by ESPN Tournament Challenge. Play the #1 bracket game.
Happy time, people. Happy 40th birthday on Sunday, Reggie Bush. The last in a long line of great running backs from USC, a line that includes O.J. Simpson, Mike Garrett, Charles White, Marcus Allen, Anthony Davis. Bush was on USC's undisputed national championship team in 2004 and became the originator of the Bush Push. Bush won the Heisman in 2005, had it taken away when it was learned his family received improper benefits. In recent years, Bush made fun of having to give back the Heisman in television commercials, holding up a hamburger and saying, "You can't take this away from me." No worries now, Bush got his Heisman back last year.
He did, Tony, but it never seemed like we saw the full potential realized. Like there was some more to come for Reggie Bush based on what we saw at USC, and we never really got it.
Not so happy anniversary, Mike Vrabel. On this day 16 years ago, the Patriots traded away their veteran linebacker along with backup quarterback Matt Castle to the Chiefs for a second-round pick that turned out to be safety Patrick Chung. Vrabel played 2 seasons in Kansas City before retiring as a player and later becoming a coach. Vrabel had spent 8 seasons with the Patriots, was first-team All-Pro in 2007, and played on 3 Super Bowl winners in New England. Vrabel was 54-45 as head coach of the Tennessee Titans and now has come full circle as he takes over coaching New England.
Better to be the second guy following the legend instead of the guy instantly trying to follow the legend, right? You agree with that?
Totally agree, 100% on that. Happy trails to tonight's game for Anthony Edwards. The Timberwolves star is suspended for tonight's game in Utah after picking up 2 technical fouls in last night's loss to the Lakers, giving him 16 on the season. Edwards responded to last night's third-quarter ejection by throwing a ball into the crowd on his way to the locker room. Edwards will also sit out a game for every 2 additional techs he picks up. Back in January, Edwards vowed to get no more technical fouls, but has since earned 7.
He's had 4 since the break, which was a minute and a half ago. Look, the Timberwolves, I think, Tony, can still do some damage in the playoffs because they know what it feels like to go through last year and get to the conference finals. But not without Anthony Edwards. You got to have him out there whole, engaged, and not getting teased every night.
One omission, the 76ers announced today Joel Embiid will be shut down for the rest of the season. Wilbon, is that the right
It's
call?
the only call, Tone. It's been coming for a while now. Sadly, this is where they end up. Hate to see it.
All right, Let's go to the big finish.
Let's
The
do it.
Predators snapped the Jets' 11-game winning streak, and you predicted that.
Well, the back-to-backs pile up on you. They're back and forth with the Capitals for best record in the NHL. That's more important. Bill Belichick in North Carolina are considering doing an off-season Hard Knocks on HBO. You like that?
That surprises me. I know it's college. I know you got to sell. I get that, but that surprises me. Zion had his first career triple-double in a win over the Suns. You find that significant?
When Zion's out there, Tony, he's spectacular to watch. It's just you don't know how often he's going to be there. And it's significant for the Suns, who just stink. Cavaliers at Celtics, Nuggets at Pistons, both tonight. Which is more intriguing to you?
I think it's Boston and Cleveland. I mean, they're 1-2 in a conference. I think it's that one.
Yeah.
Last one, women's college hoops, number 4, USC at number 2, UCLA tomorrow. Who you got?
I got a ticket. I'm going to LA to see that game.
You'll be
That
there.
seems like just a big event between
Good
two
for
teams,
you.
and UCLA has to try to get some get back.
Good for you. We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, knuckleheads. And now, your sports.
For a PTI bonus topic on this game tonight.
All right, Wilbon, is Cleveland the biggest threat to a Boston repeat?
Tony, I think so. And I don't want to disrespect Milwaukee, which after starting 2-8 is something like 31-17. So they've been on a nice pace since that awful start. But when you look at Cleveland, when I look at Cleveland, they got a quartet with Mobley, Allen, Mitchell, and Garland. And then the other starter, the fifth starter, moves around a little bit. But then you've got 3 guys at least, maybe more than that, in Hunter and Okoro and Dean Wade. They've got depth. They've got size. And I mentioned that starting front court. They got size. They know how to use like an old-fashioned team. When you've got a guy like Mitchell, you've got a star who's been in big playoff games and can go toe-to-toe with other stars. Yeah. Do I give Boston an edge? Yes. But if the question is biggest threat, I think Cleveland is it.
Yeah, I like the question, is Cleveland the biggest threat to Boston repeating with the championship? Cleveland right now is 48-10. Remember that number, 48-10. Because Boston is 42-17. They're 6.5 back. So the question should be, is Boston the biggest threat to Cleveland winning a championship? Because Cleveland has left them in the dust at the moment. Now, to be fair, Boston went through the playoffs last year, 16 wins and 3 losses. A fabulous run. So when you get to the playoffs, it might be a different story. But Cleveland right now has left them behind, don't you think?
Tony,
come on.
I do. I don't want to eliminate Oklahoma City, which is right there, like a half game or a game behind Cleveland for best record. Because I've always thought all year, but Tony, once you look at it now, Boston's getting settled in. They're no longer bored like they were when they had that 500 stretch of basketball about a month ago. They know we're after the All-Star game. We're coming up on the playoffs. They're playing like it. And so a game between the Cavaliers and Celtics really ought to be fascinating.
We talk about the playoffs from the beginning of the season on because they have more playoff teams in the NBA than any other league. They have 20 out of 30 make the playoffs in one form or another, which sort of kind of devalues the regular season. To me, every once in a while, Mike, and you know me, it sounds like, will Dak get his money? Like, it's the playoffs are always in the future. Will Dak get his money? So anyway, go ahead.
I'll take those playoffs. That's it. We're done. Back to you.